Welcome. I'm Stephen Winnick of the American Folklife Center of the Library of Congress. For many years, we've presented the Homegrown Concert Series featuring the best in folk music and dance from around the world at the Library of Congress in Washington. In the year 2020, because of the global pandemic, we shifted to producing an online video concert series, and in that process, realized that online video concerts allowed us to present a wider range of artists than presenting all our concerts in Washington. So now, in 2023, we're presenting a mix of live concerts in Washington and pre recorded video concerts from artists around the world. And of course, one situation that we've been watching with horror is the war in Ukraine. We are inspired, of course, by the resilience of the Ukrainian people, and we've been highlighting our Ukrainian collections to let our audiences know about the great cultural heritage of unique Ukrainian arts. And this year, we're extending that to a concert with a wonderful traditional music group, the Hudaki Village Band. When we can, we like to do interviews with our homegrown artists. So I am here with Yuri Bukovinets of Hudaki Village Band. Welcome, Yuri, and thank you for the interview.
Thank you for the invitation.
So could you begin by saying your own name for us so that people will hear it pronounced more correctly than I could do?
Yeah, you pronounced very well. I'm Yuri Bukovinets, and I'm living in the Ukrainian Carpathians, in the very western part of Ukraine.
Great. And before we begin talking about the music, how are you and the band doing given the war situation? We can't even imagine what it must be like to try to travel and make music in this situation.
Yes, actually, in the first 3 or 4 months of the war, we were just physically or emotionally not in the mood, in the condition to play music. So we just stopped. We canceled some concerts. We canceled concert tours abroad. We, as a band, are mostly performing abroad in the Western European countries, and so we just canceled all these concerts which were foreseen for the last for springtime of 22. After some months, we were asked to participate in a kind of solidarity concert for Ukrainian army in our region. And this was the first occasion for us again to perform. It was hard for us. We were all somewhere crying because our music is very emotional. It's very direct. It's not some music with which is written somewhere. It's really very some emotional expression. So it was difficult, but anyway, we saw we can and we must, because it's our work and we must to go on to be a part of this also morally, to be a part of the resistance of Ukraine, that we should go on and spread the word and make raise awareness also abroad about what happens in Ukraine, and to raise support for Ukraine. So after this first concert, we went on. We restarted to play concerts also abroad, and actually we were a lot on this year in 23. We are playing a lot, crossing all Europe. We were in Spain lastly, and after in Finland, so quite big distances for us.
Yeah. So one of the things that might surprise American audiences is the diversity within Ukraine itself. So your region in the Carpathians is very diverse with many ethnic groups, and that plays its way into your music. So could you mention this cultural background and a bit about the different groups' contributions to the music?
Yes, indeed. Our music is really very different from music which people from Kiev, for example, would consider as traditional Ukrainian music. As very often they are very uh, surprised to listen our music, which is has somewhere a sound more as Romanian, maybe Jewish and Gypsy music. It's really a melting pot. Our region. So our region was for about 500 years apart from Hungarian uh, kingdom, or was on this, the the rule from Hungary, sometimes before even from a part of Turkish Empire. And this, and we have a very big mixture of ethnical groups in our region, and all these ethnical groups are meeting and living together. They are meeting in the wedding parties, and in the wedding parties, the influences are mixed up by because everybody wants to hear and sing and dance on their own music. So that means there we have the traditional Ukrainian vocal influence, but we have also this Romanian. We are very close to Romanian border. Uh, Romanian melodies, and we have a lot of gypsy influence of Roma people, and we had many Jewish people in the past, and the most renamed or musicians in our villages were used to be Jewish musicians, and they also brought their influence and their connaissance of music. So it all this went a big kind of big mixture. But it's really a mixture which grew up during several centuries.
And one thing that you just shared with us today, which we didn't know, it adds to the diversity also, is that you yourself are an immigrant to Ukraine, having come from Austria originally. So that's another element in the band, I suppose. And just in terms of your background, how did you decide to, move to Ukraine and become a musician playing in this type of music?
Oh, that's not the easiest question for me. So I used to be involved in different social struggles and social actions when I was living in Western Europe. I was born in Austria, then lived in France. And when after the breakdown of the wall of the Soviet Union system, it was just amazing and very very exciting to go to these post Soviet Union countries and to get in contact with this population and people who were with a very different culture, but also with a very chaotic situation. And this chaos for me, I felt it like kind of freedom, where everything seemed to be possible. So I went here because, of course, I fell in love with a very nice and beautiful Ukrainian young lady. That was one reason, but not the reason I stayed. I stayed really because of this challenge to do something in this region where all uh, the way of thinking is quite different, and it was this choice. And after, of course, it was for me a big help to find these village musicians and to begin to play with them, to have big fun, to play together. And I began to understand which this is really a wisdom. It's that the tradition is very lively. The tradition of authentic ethnic music is just alive, which I didn't have this in Austria or in France. There we have popular music, traditional music, but it's very there is some kind of intellectual approach. Here, no intellectual approach to this traditional music. It's just transmitted from one generation to the next. And the best musicians of in our band, for example, or anywhere, the wedding musicians, they don't read any partition. They don't read notes.
Interesting. And so do musicians typically start learning when they're children from their own families, or how does the music get passed on?
Yes, of course. They are learning, they are touched because we have these big wedding parties, and in the wedding parties, the traditional music is still playing a big role. It's really important, and people and young people and elder people love to dance on it, and they dance very well, and they know a lot of these old songs, and they are singing it for hours. So then somebody would, of course, there are families where are more musicians traditionally, but one or another is feeling that he or she wants to be a musician, and she's starting to play more. Traditionally, it was really by learning by doing, and playing in the weddings.
Right. And do some people go away and study music? I mean, are there people in your band who are university trained musicians as well?
Yes, we have one our musician. He's playing the cymbal, the dulcimer. He's not from our region. He's from central Ukraine originally, and he learned in the conservatory to play this instrument, and he's quite professional. So he's more this kind of folklorist. I say this. He's interested and he loves this music, but it's not as how can I say this is he didn't get it from the roots. So he is considering as me. We are more in the back. In the front of our band, we have these musicians who are playing the music which they just feeling inside them.
Great. Yeah,
Uh,
I understand what you're saying, that there are different approaches depending on how you learned, and it is nice that you foreground the musicians who come straight from the tradition and learned it in the traditional manner. So tell us about your own instruments in the group, the instruments that you play, because they're interesting traditional folk instruments.
Yeah, so I play a mixture of instruments because from the all it's wind instruments because I used to play clarinet in Austria, and I had some technique what is helping me. And clarinet actually is an instrument which was spread in this region by, as far as I know, by Jewish musicians. They had these very uh, terrible sounds in C major clarinets, very high, because they played outside in the weddings, and it must be just very loud. It was the most important uh, fact. So I play the clarinet, but here also I began to play the traditional instruments, which are more ancient. Here it's some shepherd's flute. It's called sopilka, and I got my instrument from an old peasant from the mountains who is doing a lot of different music instruments. He's a Hutzul musician and peasant. So this is sopilka. It's impossible to play it really clean. There's only 6 holes, and it's not. You can play gam on it. It's so, but for traditional music, it's exactly what it's necessary.
Great. There are also some typical unusual instruments in the group that other members play that our audience might be interested in, and you might be able to tell us a little about them, um, because they're not standard instruments that Western musicians would know. So, what can you tell us about the utogardon?
Utogardon. Utogardon. It's actually it's more an Hungarian instrument. In this form, we got it. We got it. It was made for us by a traditional handicraft from Hungary. It's played mostly in Transylvania now, in the Hungarian populated region of Romania, because people are more living close to their musical and cultural roots there. So we took this instrument because this was for us. It was easier to get it. We wanted some this traditional instrument, which was used more about 100 years ago, really in a lot of bands in the region here, which is making a kind of basson. It's one note. It's four strings, all in re or in D. So and it's making us a boom, boom, boom. It's getting it's like a kind of uh, basement for some tunes, and it's making the rhythm. It's so we had this similar instrument in our region, not this Utegordan. Utegordan is really it's from Hungary.
Hmm. And so
So
it's sort of a percussive bass
yeah,
string instrument. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
great.
yeah. It's
I,
percussion. It has strings, but this is percussion.
Yeah. So, and then the other instrument that I think I've heard played a number of times in other groups and also in your group that I think people would be interested in is the plonka.
Ah, Plonka. Yes, we had the dispute about this because Plonka actually it's Russian word. Plonka
Hmm.
is Plivka in Ukrainian.
It's what
So
I'm sorry, I missed
yes,
that. It's
yes, it's Plivka, and this is
plivka.
it's a pellicule. How it's from a film. It's from a photo. Uh, in English, it would be pellicule. It's a film. It's a
Yeah,
part of the
it's a piece of photographic film. Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. And the player just traditional. It's really used by Roma musicians. So in our band also, this guy who is playing it. He's Roma. He's Gypsy, and he's putting this here in the between the lips, and it's a mixture of singing or how it's not as easy to do, make a to play a melody with it. But yes, before they took just some vegetable, some leaves. But of
Yeah.
course, this film is more resistant.
Yeah. So in America too, it's common to play a blade of grass that way, a big,
Mhm.
as you say, a leaf.
Yeah.
But that's how this is. It's like just a single, essentially works as a reed, but it's a membrane or film. So yeah, I thought our audience would be interested
Mhm.
uh, in that instrument just because it's so unusual. Um, so tell us about how Hudaki Village Band came together and began playing together. How did you all meet?
So this is we're living in a village, and we met at the weddings. We met at the weddings, and we began. The There are some guys. They were wedding musicians for more than mm, actually for 40 years, even more, 40 years. And when I came here to in the 90s, they already played together for maybe 10 years, and so we met, and I began to just to join them in some weddings and play for fun with them. And after there was different opportunities for us to perform, we were invited once in Kiev for a big concert, where it was a Soviet style big concert where the region must present itself. And after we had friends in abroad who asked me personally, "Oh, don't you know some nice musicians who could perform, bring us some traditional music from Ukrainian Carpathians?" And I thought, yes, why not? We can play. It's it sounded very basic in this period, but it has a good drive, and it was very authentic. And this was the beginning. We thought, okay, we go there for have to fun together. And after the first one, two, three trips, we uh, got conscient that this works. That audience abroad loves this authenticity, and we began to work a little bit more to make some arrangements and to bring the music to make it more compact or and last it so we started to work more and more, but anyway mostly we work when we somewhere on tour, when we abroad and together, and we have no uh, this common uh, work at home for everybody here of the musicians. They have some a cow, for example, or some a farm, and they are busy at home.
So when you tour, you get a chance to spend time together and then maybe work on the music itself, on the arrangements and that kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, exactly.
that makes a lot of sense. Um, so when you were putting the group together, when you were, collectively deciding who was going to, start being in this group, is there a standard orchestra or a standard set of instruments that are typically played in these kind of wedding celebrations that you needed a certain number of, so that made sense to bring a certain people, or was it just whoever could come at that time?
No, it was not. It was, of course, it was some sense. We needed first of in the village tradition. The village tradition is the so-called uh, troisti. Troisti, that means there are three musicians. That is the base. And that means the most important is the drummer. There is a joke of the musician joke in our region about when some are generally the parents of the future married are searching. They must organize the wedding, and they must find musicians. And they say, "Okay, we found a drummer, but we don't find another musician. But we can find another drummer, and it will be good." So there will be two drums, and they will make the wedding. Uh, so the drama is the most important because he's making a dance. The people dance. Um, but troisti, that means generally there is violinist, and traditionally there was the third instrument was probably an alt, the viola, who is playing the syncopes, the counter. Yes. So this is the basic, but actually we could play in this way, but for audience abroad or which is not used or was not just dancing, it would be interesting maybe for 20 minutes and not more because there's no variety, there's no diversity. And so we began to playing and to bring more. We got more some contemporary instruments as a double bass and cymbal, also cymbal or the dulcimer in English. It's also very traditional instrument. It could be in the place of the alt. It's also somewhere of the viola. It's in the middle of the diapason of and it's making harmony and rhythmic. So we found a good player of dulcimer. Of course, we invited him. So yes, it was this process, and two singers also to get two female singers.
Yeah, tell us a
The
little bit about your great singers because everyone in the group sings sometimes, but you have these two really outstanding singers who are in the front of your concert. So tell us about finding them.
Yes, they are quite different, but they are very complementary. Katya, who is the older lady, she's really has an extremely powerful voice, and she's really singing in a very traditional way. She all her life she was a wedding singer and singing in the bars and some restaurants, and she's always singing. And she's from a family. Her mother was singing, her grandmother was singing, so she knows an amazing big repertoire of traditional music, and she has yes a voice which is really not common. And the younger lady Olga, she was about 12 years old when she performed the first time with us. So she comes also from a family of musicians, mostly from the grandparents, and everybody sang, but really in the village tradition. Uh, and she had a voice, and she was a child, which was extremely pure, and yes, she performed as a solo singer in the big performances, but she never wanted to make a career as some pop or make some pop sing some popular music of this. She wanted to make traditional music, to sing traditional music, and after during the years, she decided also to learn more. And actually, she's singing sometimes even in Vienna Opera Theater. So she's living now in mostly in Vienna, but she's touring with us. She's going on concert tours with us. So yes, they're quite different, but also very complementary.
Yes, and along with the dance music that the band does, they make everything a very varied presentation for your concert. So it's great to have them both there. Now, so you've put the band together, and now you've been on the road for some years. are there highlights or memories that stand out as, you know, band history, as your the highlights of the career for the band?
We had some very nice experience, of course. The best experience is actually there where is a big audience for an audience who where people are ready to they have sensibility for traditional music, and these are the big festivals of traditional music. For example, in Germany is Rudolstadt. It's very big, and we had very nice time there. But also, actually, just some days ago, we had really a great experience in Finland. We were also a very big festival of folk music, and the people there, they are really they love that we play these traditional music, not in some old-fashioned way. We are playing very lively, and it's a very good drive in this music. And often for the audience for who comes to listen traditional music, it's some kind of surprise that traditional music can have this so much power, which is not usually, especially in Europe. Maybe somewhere in Africa, it's usual that traditional music is very powerful, strong rhythms, but not as in Europe.
Yeah. So the other question, I guess, is whether there were, since you come out of this village tradition and you all had mentors and teachers within the village context, that we understand is one way that people, everyone brings what they have learned to the band. But as a group, did you have any influences from more professional groups, from other musicians, other groups that you've seen over the years?
Of course, we see when we even especially when we go to festivals. That for we love the bigger festivals, so, because we see a lot of different groups, and we can uh, get aware about what we are doing, what we could change a little bit. But actually, the very strong influence we had from a Ukrainian ethnomusicologue, ethnomusician. She is a member of legendary singers group Drevo, that from Kiev, and they made a big work for the last 40 years in collecting traditional Ukrainian vocal music. And this lady, Anna Okhrimchuk, she helped us a lot, especially with the voices, because she has a very big connaissance of traditional vocal music, and so really we she knows and practice and theory. So she really it was a big chance for us to find her, and maybe your audience and you will know the Ukrainian band Dacha Bracha, and also this Anna Ochrimchuk also she participated to put them on the way with this quite different vocal tradition, which is showing Dacha Bracha. But anyway, traditional singing, authentic singing is somewhere more or less the same thing on the whole world.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. So you mentioned that ethnomusicologists and their collections, and that we love to hear that at the Library of Congress because that's what we do. We maintain these collections and archives. So I wonder if when you're seeking music to play, if you ever visit archives and listen to sort of old field recordings.
Yes, yes. If by chance we had some collectioners in the first decades of 20th century, and there are some recordings, and it's true that we could use something. It was very interesting for us to listen also this sound of this old how it sounded in this period, the traditional music, and we found some songs which were really interesting for us. And one is we are singing it on not only one, but one for sure. I don't remember now. Yes. Also, some of the gypsy tunes we got it. We are singing now. We got it from archives. Also, we are singing some Jewish songs. And this program we made with a guy who is originally from United States but living in Europe now, and he made a big work of research on the Jewish music tradition of the Carpathians, Benji Fox Rosen, and we made some concerts with him, and he helped us to get back on the roots of this Jewish music, because it is really in our region it was mostly lost, because we had also, even in our village, we had um, several Jewish families, and there were around for sure Jewish musicians, but there are no, as far as we know, there are no recordings. So we had to look around a little bit further.
So I probably 6 of my 8 great grandparents were born in Ukraine and were Jewish. So that's the community I would have been from if they hadn't come to the United States and moved our
Mhm.
family here. So I'm very interested in that tradition as well, and I'm glad that you've been researching it and adding it to the village music that you play, which of course was, as you said, already carried and influenced by the Jewish musicians of your region from the past. Um, so tell us a little bit about your video itself, the video concert. Where is that beautiful setting? Is that your village, that where you all live?
Yes, we actually don't. Not everybody of the band is living in this village. We are one, two, three, four. One is four are living in the village. One is living in the neighbor village. Two are in the neighbor small town. The young lady singer, she's living also in another neighbor village, a little bit further. Uh, and only one musician is he's from the dulcimer player. He's from Uzhgorod. He's about 100 kilometers from us. Yes, this is our village, and we searched it. We got to this, found this place very nice and very authentic, and wanted to show because, yeah, nothing disturbed this image of traditional way of life of this Baba Ansa, this grandma Anya, where we invited us. But she was very happy that we were there.
So is she the person that you see at the beginning of the film waving at us?
Yes, yes.
Yes. So that's a very, it's a nice touch. It does sort of welcome the audience into the into the video and into the concert. Um, so how did you decide when you're putting the concert together for us, which of your many songs and tunes to include in that video?
It was not an easy task because, yes, we wanted to show the wide diversity and the diversity of our music. So we have really the traditional vocal music and traditional rhythms also of Ukrainians of this region. But we have also one Jewish song, which is it's a traditional melody, and the words were come from a Jewish musician of some were more in the south, and we have one Roma song, which is sung by Vitalik. He's Roma for himself. So yes, we wanted this mixture. We wanted dance music. We wanted table songs. We call it table songs. It means that on the weddings, there is some rhythm. For half an hour or maybe an hour, people are dancing all the time. After they have some rest, they are eating and drinking, and after they are singing um, together some very ancient songs, and this we call the table songs. So we wanted to show all this diversity.
So it was the diversity of the repertoire and also the communities that participated. That's great.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it worked very well, and it gives a beautiful picture of the village music. Um, in addition to admiring your music, I will mention that I admire your group for the dress style and especially those great hats that various of your members wear. Is the way the group dresses at all traditional, or is it just more for personal expression? And what can you tell us about the clothing and the hats of the group?
This is also it's a question because so we for some years, maybe uh, almost 10 years, not almost 10 years, we tried to find some traditional clothes would be would express be a part of our performance and to show that we play traditional music, so we must should have traditional clothes. But all these years, we felt that we are somewhere not comfortable with these clothes, and this is for different reasons. The main reason is this: different the traditional clothes not more used in our region for many years, probably since the Second World War. It's in use. People are wearing it higher in the mountains, but not in our region. So it was somewhere it was all strange. And in the opposite, the traditional clothes for the holidays were used by the Soviet style folk music. And Soviet style folk music, when you speak about traditional music in Ukraine and all ancient regions of Soviet Union, we must speak about this because the Soviet Union cultural politics was to um, disrupt, to destroy the real local authenticity. And so they made all the local traditions was transformed to some garbage, to some trash, to some kitsch. It went very it was no more authenticity, and so it was completely depreciated by the main part of the population. uh, s- so we wanted to be a part of this because somewhere it's still we have still bureaucrats, we have still this old style cultural functionaries who want to promote old style, this culture which is without soul, without any authenticity. And this was also a part of our choice. It was not only the part of the choice of the music; it's a part of the choice of the clothes. And so we wanted just have make clear that we are performing, that we are making a big party, and we want to. Um, it's that is a holiday. What we are making, we want to make people happy, and this clothes is a part of this expression. So we have very good designers in Ukraine, clothes for stage clothes, and it was made by a designer in Kiev.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Great contrast among the different musicians and the different clothes that you're wearing. It really helps you stand out, I think, in some ways. Talking about the Soviet period brings up that question, the damage that the Soviet system did to local traditional music, and yet it seems to have survived to some extent in your region. How did people keep the music alive through not only the Soviet the political oppression, but this attempt to transform all of culture into the kitschy culture that you mentioned? How did it survive through that?
It was in the private parties. There were private parties, and you must remind that we had a Soviet Union only for 44 years in our region. We had Soviet Union after the Second World War and until 1991. So it was not enough to destroy completely the local traditions. It transformed a little bit, but anyway, in the wedding parties, the people forgot about the system, and they continued to be themselves. So yes, it was in the private parties, and there's a big, very big traditional. The weddings in our region are really sometimes 500, 600 people coming together and
Wow, that
singing
is a
all.
large, yeah, that's
Yeah,
a large wedding party. Yeah.
yeah. They are really big.
So, sort of continuing from that theme, of course, we're now dealing with Vladimir Putin's Soviet, his sort of Soviet ambitions to remake the Soviet Union and take Ukraine again. And I saw a film about your group recently, and in the beginning, you talk a little about playing music to support the soldiers who are fighting for Ukraine. You must be thinking a lot about how to help the national effort. So how can music and art and folklore help in times like this?
That depends in the means you have. We are not a band. We bring not together an audience of 10,000 or can share. We can just make popular. We speak about initiatives we support, because in our village we also and not only in the village, we are working together with the local initiatives which are supporting refugees, or which are we are working with children, young teenagers who are traumatized, and we organize these camps for them, rehabilitation camps, and all this. The most we speak about this, but our actually, what I feel in my mind, what is our main role or function is to show that we don't give up, and Ukraine doesn't give up, and to show it also when we are abroad, everywhere where we are, we meet a lot of Ukrainian people, and it's a big holiday. They're very big emotions, and now it's completely different now to the situation of before the war. So we are getting together. We are bringing people together, and this is what is now necessary to stand together and show solidarity, and whatever concretely you can do, you do it. But so yes, we support some local initiatives, but we are not making a big noise about this, because okay, everybody must do what he can or she can.
Absolutely. Well, we thank you for doing what you are doing. And as I mentioned, we're trying to get at least the message out about Ukrainian culture and Ukrainian traditions and the importance of the Ukrainian community, not only in Ukraine, but globally. In North America, there are so many Ukrainian people as well who
Mhm.
have contributed so much. And we're trying to get that message out to some extent also with your concert. So is there any other message that I didn't ask about that you would like to convey to our audience? Anything else you'd like to tell us about your music or your culture?
I don't know. I think we spoke very largely, so it's very completely. So thank you for interesting questions. And the main message is now, but you understand and you say by yourself, stand with Ukraine. You see here, this is our message, and we are very grateful for all the support for our country, for our people. We need it. We need it really, and but we are also very conscient about the this amount of support Ukraine is receiving every day. And yes, please go on, and we will go on, and we will win. We will win. We knew from the very beginning that we will win, but it's a question how many lives we must lose. Uh, More and more, it's a catastrophe. It's really a tragedy.
Yeah, it is. And many of us, of course, feel that all the help that we can give is a good investment, not only in Ukraine, but in Europe and in the world. That the situation there is intolerable and it must be resisted. So, Yuri Bukovinets, thank you so much for this interview, and thank you so much for the concert of Hudaki Village Band. We know that our audience here at the Library of Congress and across the world is going to love your music and be interested in the conversation that we had. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.